Hey everybody, this is Michael here with Max, and welcome to the Safe Zone. This time we're taking a look at Sniper Elite Nazi Zombie Army 2. Try saying that 3 times real fast. I've got a better idea. Say hello, Max.
Hello.
So this is yet another zombie-themed survival-ish game, not dissimilar from classics like Left 4 Dead, where you have to make your way through a series of fairly linear levels, fighting a bunch of zombies to get to safe rooms to advance the story of the game. Unlike Left 4 Dead, however, this series of levels has some continuity to it, where you're actually kind of picking up right where you left off, instead of how in Left 4 Dead sometimes you have like gaps in between the levels where it's assumed that weird things happened.
Yeah, this one is definitely clear-cut that hell has come to Earth.
Yeah, so basically what they're working with here is an alternate history kind of timeline where the Nazis in World War II got a hold of the means to make a zombie army, and things went bad from there. But one of the really cool things about this game is the fact that it employs the mechanics from Sniper Elite. So basically you have the realistic ballistics modeling and movement and weaponry and gadgetry that you had from the Sniper Elite core game, but with this cool 80s horror movie zombie aesthetic put on it to very good effect.
Oh yeah, I mean it practically has the John Carpenter soundtrack always playing.
Yeah, I had to leave the music turned up at least a little bit so you guys could hear it, because it's just got such a great vibe and it does such a good job of selling the atmosphere of this game, which I think is definitely one of the best parts of it for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I do love the whole hell has come to Earth theme, and they definitely play off of it pretty well.
Indeed. Well, I think that's probably enough setup for this. I say we advance through this level and start rocking some zombies. Now, one thing you'll notice is these zombies aren't your typical just walk towards you in a very methodical, predictable way kind of zombies. And I think I mentioned this when we talked about Contagion a few episodes back, how the little bit of extra animation and the little bit of extra variety in the way the zombies in this game move goes a really long way to making them a much more credible and difficult enemy to deal with. And I think this is a great example of a game that implements zombies as an enemy extremely well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really difficult. Again, one of those games where if you hit them, it's almost impossible to hit the headshot. And since it has the realistic aiming mechanics and everything of Sniper Elite, it makes it that much harder to actually hit a headshot and actually, really kill them.
Right, because if you get a body shot, you will only just knock them down temporarily, and then they'll resurrect, and you'll have to deal with them again. So the only way to really dispatch an enemy in this with any degree of certainty is the headshot, which, as Max said, is sometimes very difficult to get, especially when you're talking and playing at the same time.
Well, yeah, and when, the hordes during the later levels just get out of hand.
One thing you noticed right there is when you make a particularly good headshot from a distance, you get a nice little cutscene that really shows the bullet trajectory and just how impressive the shot actually was, which is definitely one of my favorite parts of the game.
Oh yeah, we were playing with our buddies the other night, and we were trying to beat each other for the longest headshot clocked.
Yeah, it definitely becomes a super competitive thing, especially when you have all 4 players in the co-op, because people will start calling out how long their headshots were, and then you get people trying to outdo each other. It almost reminds me of like Gimli and Legolas in Lord of the Rings, like comparing their kill counts. That was a super nerdy reference for all you folks. Man, the hits just keep coming, don't they?
They are a persistent bunch.
Indeed. So another interesting thing that's probably worth pointing out is this is actually the second one of these games to come out this year. I couldn't believe it when I was actually looking back through my Steam library, but we actually played the first of these games earlier in this same year. It doesn't seem like it's, you know, it seems like it's been longer than that, but I guess once they had the idea for this down and the basic mechanics of it created, it was pretty easy to make a sequel.
Yeah, great marketing. This came out right around Halloween, and who else, you know, why wouldn't you want to buy a zombie Nazi killing game around, you know, the spooky holiday?
Yeah, for sure. I actually thought it was surprising that the first game didn't come out around Halloween, but I guess they must have known that they were probably going to make a sequel, so good on them to get the first game out and get the kind of name out there and get people familiar with it, and then bring the sequel around the holiday. It's definitely a smart move.
Yeah. And I have to say that this second one is a lot more optimized, and I think a lot more, a lot better laid out than the last one was. Because I think it was definitely one of those things where they were testing the waters with the concept, but this one is really where they nailed it.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. You know, in the first game, which was really good and had the virtue of being first, they had a lot of difficulty spikes and a lot of kind of uneven situations that would occur in the game where sometimes it would be like ridiculously hard, like kind of out of nowhere, or like there were some boss fights that were a little unbalanced or seemed almost unfair at times. But I know playing through this version of the game, it really seemed like a pretty smooth experience, at least at the default difficulty level. Although I'm sure if you crank the difficulty up in this, you could definitely get a challenge out of it if that's what you were after.
Yeah, we were actually talking about doing that with our buddies next time they get on, was doing it like a hard version of a playthrough.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of what you have to do if you want to go achievement farming in this game, because a lot of the achievements are tied to playing on the harder difficulties and or with a full squad of 4. See, now there I just got a regular kill, so that one's going to stand back up, I think. Because it wasn't a headshot. Well, that's weird. You would have thought he would have stood up by now. So you don't just have sniper rifles in this game, as I will demonstrate here by whipping out this pistol and shooting this guy with it. And when you're in close quarters, actually, the pistol is almost a better option because you have a little more flexibility in terms of seeing what's around you, but still being reasonably accurate. And of course, you also will have a secondary weapon, be that like a submachine gun or a shotgun or whatever you manage to pick up along the way. There's actually sometimes weapons scattered throughout the levels themselves. And then, of course, in the actual safe rooms at the end of the levels, you'll have an assortment of weapons to pick from. And it's actually kind of surprising how much variation there is in all like the different kinds of sniper rifles and submachine guns and whatnot.
And yeah, there's special weapons that you can get up, like the Preacher, which is like this huge double-barrel shotgun that does like massive damage to crowds and everything like that.
And of course, the Panzerfaust, which is sort of like an old school rocket launcher or bazooka. Oh, so another thing we should probably point out, and we may have actually missed one of these already, is there's usually like secret collectible items scattered throughout the level. There's actually usually gold, which you can just see normally and pick up. And there's also these wine bottles that are collectibles, which apparently you have to shoot, but you can only see them through your sniper scope. And I actually have yet to see one of those in-game myself, but I've definitely started looking for them ever since I found out that that's how you're supposed to find them.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. I was during the later half of the levels, I was like starting to be like the collector and just like finding gold, but I still have not found a single wine bottle in this game.
Yeah, they definitely made them hard to spot, and I get the feeling that they're probably not, now that I know that you have to use the sniper rifle to spot them, I get the feeling they're probably tucked like way off on the edges of the level, like in windows or something like that.
Gotta find it with a friggin' magnifying glass.
Yeah, indeed. I think it'll be one of those situations, though, where maybe once we find one and get the sense of where they put them and what it looks like, it'll be easier to find the rest.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing, finding that first one.
Yeah, I find, like, for me anyway, like a lot of times with games, like that first collectible is the hardest. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Well, I guess I'm gonna get to show the resurrection mechanic. So basically you just hold spacebar until that bar fills up. Oh, and now you get to do it to me. Nothing is over. Wow, that was a little intense and unexpected. I was not counting on quite that level of madness right there.
Yeah. Oh, shotgun. Also,
Okay.
one thing to point out is once you kill a zombie, there's a short time where you can actually loot it.
Oh yeah, good point. I had completely forgotten to mention that. And it is important because the bodies do disappear, so if you don't do it right away, you'll miss your opportunity, which actually can create some kind of tense situations when you're trying to loot them to maybe get some more ammo or explosives or what have you, but then you're afraid to advance because they're still advancing from the opposite direction, so you don't want to get caught trying to loot them.
Then there are moments like this.
Yeah, usually at various points throughout the level, you'll kind of get into these standoff, hold your ground kind of scenarios. Also notice here we got some ammo boxes up top in this guard tower to replenish our supplies with, which is good. You'll generally find stuff like that scattered throughout the level. I'm hearing a lot of horrifying noises from below. That was nice. So another thing you have in this game are grenades, which I will make use of right there. Nice. That was helpful. Things are taking a somewhat disturbing turn. I'm going to go back up top so I can get more ammo. Sorry, the commentary's kind of fallen by the wayside here as I just try to stay alive.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like this, for sure, where they have good setup points where it's pretty much just like a shooting gallery.
Yeah, but it's also very key, and like I feel like a moment like this really illustrates why it's so good to have a co-op partner, because like trying to do some of this stuff single-handedly would be really rough, especially when they start coming from multiple directions at once.
Yeah. Things, as you can see, just me and him aren't probably the best to try and take on these situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 players is definitely a challenge, you know, and I think the way you approach this game as a single player is almost like as a traditional survival horror game where you move a lot more slowly and methodically and try to really set up, you know, explosives and traps and things to take care of being outnumbered. But then the more people you have to work with, you know, the more flexible you can be and the more fun you can have just kind of freewheeling your way through it. But even with all 4 people, it can still get tricky at times.
Yeah, I remember the one time that we wiped out. That was not fun when we had we had to redo that whole one segment closer to the end of the game.
Yeah, there was that one segment where we literally wiped out our entire group on the very last enemy. It was like right before the end of the level. But I mean, I can only think of maybe once or twice where we actually completely wiped, you know, in the whole time that we played through this. And it wasn't like we had to replay multiple times. It was usually like if we replayed it once or twice, we got past it. Sometimes it was just a question of like knowing the situation, and then once you could anticipate it and deal with it, you could get through it. It was just the surprise of some of the things that happened that was so off-putting or upsetting.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's probably enough of this to show for now. I mean, if people want to see more of this game or more of this level, you know, definitely let us know in the comments and whatnot. But I would really just honestly highly recommend that people check this game out for themselves. You know, it's not particularly expensive as first-person or third-person shooters go. And it is available on Steam as a 4-pack, so, you know, if you want to go in on it with some buddies and have a good time, I think there's a lot worse games out there than this, and especially if you're into these sorts of games in general, I think this is a pretty easy one to recommend.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're a fan of zombies and if you're a fan of John Carpenter, you will enjoy this game.
Nice. I concur. All right, well, until next time... Mendoza! Okay, sorry. We're done.